Rain's face twitched the instant she saw Twilight. He was still alive. After everything he had done, after the disasters scattered through history like scars that refused to fade, he had returned once again. Rain's disgust slipped out before she could stop it, and Misery immediately scolded her for the language. Yet the irritation remained. Twilight had always possessed a talent for surviving things that should have ended him. Around them, the atmosphere carried a strange mixture of tension and absurdity. Suka, standing nearby with the quiet stillness of a statue, had somehow turned the conversation toward weaknesses. More specifically, the weaknesses of the primordials. Mas felt the danger before anyone else seemed willing to acknowledge it. The idea alone was outrageous. Searching for a weakness in Testarossa was already a taboo. Actually, attempting to exploit one was something else entirely. Suka, however, approached the matter with the detached seriousness of a spy doing her duty. Her investigations covered the habits and preferences of Tempest's executives, from Benimaru's dislike of carrots to the complicated relationships surrounding Diablo and Testarossa. Even trivial information could become valuable if circumstances ever turned against them. The conversation drifted toward insects. That was when Mas began to regret every decision that had brought him into the room. Rimuru's hatred of cockroaches was apparently well known. Pest control around his residence and the guest house was handled with unusual thoroughness, yet even Tempest had suffered the occasional invasion. One unfortunate incident at the courthouse had nearly ended in catastrophe when Carrera, confronted with a cockroach, had reacted with such overwhelming force that nuclear-class magic had almost been unleashed inside the building. Rimuru had understood her feelings rather too well. A special extermination team had eventually been organized by people tolerant enough of insects to deal with the problem without provoking Carrera again. And somehow, this had become relevant to Testarossa. Suka admitted that despite constantly searching for weaknesses among the executives, she had found nothing useful concerning the White Queen. No obvious fear, no preference that could be exploited, no simple flaw hidden beneath the perfect composure. Mas silently thanked every god he could think of. Then Rain suggested using him to throw a cockroach at Testarossa. The blood drained from Mas's face. He refused immediately. Whatever Testarossa might think of insects was irrelevant. Deliberately provoking a primordial was a much more certain path to death than any weakness they might discover. Suka, however, looked genuinely disappointed that the experiment would never happen. Mas swallowed the words forming in his throat. This was not a woman who should be allowed near classified information. Yet, while the ridiculous conversation continued behind her, Rain never stopped watching the battlefield. Testarossa stood opposite Twilight. That was what mattered. Rain's attention settled on the two ancient beings, and the humor slowly drained from her expression. Diablo and Twilight had always occupied the highest places on her personal list of troublesome. Diablo was an unbearable nuisance, but there was something almost understandable about him. Twilight was different. He imposed his own principles upon the world and forced everyone else to suffer the consequences. The evidence was written across history: the life disaster, the undead city, the two moons, the eroded forest, the sea of fresh blood. Experiments without regard for the lives caught inside them. Rain had cleaned up after him too many times to forget. She had even celebrated when Luminous finally destroyed him. Now he had returned. And this version was worse. Rain understood enough about the difference in power to feel cold sweat beneath her composure. Testarossa was extraordinary, especially after her evolution under Rimuru, but Twilight had become something difficult to measure. His existence was approaching true immortality, and the full extent of his current power remained uncertain. Still, Rain trusted Testarossa. The White Queen never ever entered a battle without calculating the possibility of victory. That had to mean something. Testarossa herself appeared completely unconcerned. Twilight had expected seriousness. Instead, he found her smiling. He tried to provoke her, questioning the confidence written so plainly across her face. Testarossa only deepened that smile, as though the entire situation had already reached a conclusion known only to her. Maybe you still think you have the advantage? The words settled between them. Twilight's expression hardened. He had intended to test the limits of his new body by forcing Testarossa into greater seriousness. Her confidence, however, struck him as arrogance. He warned her that those who failed to recognize true strength eventually paid for their blindness. Testarossa did not move. Then Twilight released the power he had been restraining. The air changed. His dragon aura rolled outward with suffocating pressure, and the ground seemed to become heavier beneath it. The presence was no longer merely that of a dangerous opponent. It belonged to something that had been engineered to transcend ordinary life. The pseudo-dragon body was the culmination of Twilight's obsession. For years, he had pursued a single question. What did true immortality actually require? The dragonkind had provided the first answer. Their souls could return even after death, their memories preserved through successive existence. But Twilight had refused to accept that as sufficient. Memory alone could not guarantee identity. A different personality inhabiting the same memories might become someone else entirely. The heart core was the missing piece, so Twilight froze his own heart core through Velzard's power. His memories were duplicated and synchronized through prepared bodies. Death became an interruption rather than an ending. His recreated consciousness could return without losing the continuity he considered essential. Then came the body itself. Forged from Velzard's magical energy, the pseudo-dragon form possessed combat capabilities approaching true dragonkind. Even if the body were destroyed, the heart core remained protected through Velzard. Another body could be created. Twilight had engineered immortality around himself. His research into greed had taken him even further. By observing the skill's movement through hosts such as Maria Bell and Yuki, he gathered information even from encounters with Guy. Eventually, that research led him beyond the original authority and toward Amon, the king of greed. But even that was insufficient. Twilight sacrificed what he had already achieved in pursuit of the next answer, what existed beyond the ultimate. The answer was Angra Mainyu, the king of evil. Its authority encompassed perception, analysis, creation, duplication, synchronization, space-time manipulation, multidimensional barriers, and eternal return. Through it, Twilight completed the pseudo-dragon form and reached a state where, so long as Velzard existed, death itself could no longer claim him. His aura expanded again. The difference was overwhelming. Twilight's existence value towered over Testarossa's, nearly 10 times greater by his estimation. In his mind, the conclusion was obvious. She was a spiritual existence wearing a physical body, while he possessed a form engineered from the power of a true dragon. He believed the battlefield had already decided the winner, and that confidence was precisely what Testarossa had been waiting for. She continued to smile. Not because she had failed to understand the difference, because she had already calculated it. Somewhere behind that serene expression, the formula for victory had been completed long before Twilight ever released his dragon aura. File site to return file L229 to L251